Zach. That is how my day begins most mornings here in Dhaka. Got my pink kettle, making my instant coffee. Got my computer set up. And pretty much every morning begins with a study of Dhaka on Google Maps as I try to find a new place to go. Here, by the way, is Lal Bag Fort, which I visited in one of my first videos. And off to the west, you see the Khan Muhammad Masjid, which is a famous historical mosque here in Dhaka. And I could go visit that today. And also in the same neighborhood is the Dhakeshwari Mandir, which is as I say here on Google Maps, a prominent 12th century Hindu temple. And I believe it is the national temple for the Hindu faith in Dhaka. I recently went to the Armenian church here in Dhaka, so it might be interesting to follow that up with a visit to a historical mosque and a historical Hindu temple. Brush my hair. Got my survival kit. Time to head out into Dhaka. As I probably mentioned earlier, Dhakeshwari is a Hindu temple. Dhakeshwari means goddess of Dhaka, and the temple is dedicated to the Hindu goddess Durga. The original temple was built in the 12th century by Balal Sen, the king of the Sen dynasty. That makes the site over 800 years old. The legend goes that Balal Sen dreamed that there was a statue of the goddess Durga buried in the jungle. Balal Sen went to the spot in the jungle indicated in his dream, and he found the statue. He built a temple on that spot and dedicated it to the goddess Durga. The temple has been the site of some tension between the Muslim and Hindu communities, and there has been some violence here. So when I came in through the main street, there was a fairly strong armed presence there. Some soldiers, I think, are stationed there permanently just to keep an eye on things. Just for future visitors, here's the opening hours. It's open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then from 4 until 9. It appears to be closed between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. One thing I almost forgot is that you are supposed to remove your shoes when you come to the temple. So as I walked in, this young fellow reminded me that my shoes have to come off, and he keeps them here safe. He keeps them here safe for me until I get back. I read a lot about this temple before I came here, but to be honest, I can't really tell you much about it. The history is quite complicated with a lot of names and dates and traditions that are very unfamiliar to me. I have seen pictures of this temple from decades ago, and you can see it looks much different than it does today. It was covered in jungle. A lot of the buildings were broken and torn down. In fact, I don't think any of these buildings around me my little speech. My little speech was interrupted by some ritual drumming there. And I was just saying that the site for this temple has been active for 800 years, but I think the buildings that you see here were built about 200 years ago, and many of them have been rebuilt and added to. So little that you see here is part of the original temple complex. I mentioned the legend of Bilal Sen finding the statue of the goddess Durga in the jungle. Well, that statue now sits in a temple in Calcutta. During the partition of India in 1947, when millions of Hindus fled from Pakistan into India, they brought the temple of the goddess Durga with them. That brings me to the end of my visit to the Dhakeshwari temple. I'm going to go get my shoes back, head back out into Dhaka, and now I'm going to visit the Khan Mohammad Mosque, the Khan Mohammad Masjid. Well, I've left Dhakeshwari temple, and I'm following Google Maps to get me to the mosque, known locally as Khan Mohammad Masjid. It was built in 1704, making it about 300 years old, and it was built by Khan Mohammad Mizra. I don't know much else about the mosque, other than the mosque itself is built on a platform quite high above the ground. Underneath it are living quarters and other rooms that I believe were once used as a school. I'm zeroing in on the mosque, and I think it's up ahead on the left. I'm noticing there's kind of a clearing over here, and perhaps this clearing is part of the mosque grounds. And I was right. That clearing is the mosque. And the gate appears to be open. So my lucky streak continues with places being open. And if I can cross this street without getting killed by one of the many rickshaws. Oh, they're always moving much faster than you think they are. Even the ones without motors. So here we are, a break in the traffic. Let's go in and check out the Khan Mohammad Masjid. So you can see the platform here that the mosque is sitting on, and underneath are all the rooms that I talked about, the living quarters and the old school. It is still an active mosque today, I believe, and they have the speakers up here for the call to prayer. I'm going to go take a look inside of here and see what it looks like down there before I go up on top. And they know some of the history of this mosque for sure, because this inscription states that it was built in 1704 by Khan Mohammad Mizra. I believe it's written in Persian. That brings me to the end of my visit to the Khan Mohammad Masjid. I don't have a lot to say about it other than what you see in the video and the pictures. The one thing I remember is that when I was reading about this mosque, there was a lot of discussion of the restoration of antiquities and historical sites. That over the years, things get fixed, but they may not fix them in keeping with how they looked historically. And then there's pressure from antiquities and historical societies to restore it to how it was in the past. And the sign of synonyms. Notice protected antiquities. Under Section 19 of the Antiquities Act of 1968, any person who destroys, breaks, damages, alters, injures, defaces, or mutilates, or scribbles, writes, or engraves any inscription or sign on this antiquity is punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine, or with both. So, I'm going to call this the end of today's video, and heading back to my own neighborhood, a couple of kilometers away. And I'll see you in the next video. The bonus question for the last video was, what is the best English translation for the Bengali word ghat? A. Bridge, B. Wharf, C. Stream, or D. Market? The answer is B. Wharf. I think technically a ghat is those series of stone steps that go down to the river, kind of like you see in the famous pictures from Varanasi. But out of those selections, wharf is the best English translation. The bonus question for this video is a getting to know you question about me. I call myself the Cycling Canadian because I like to travel by bicycle. But what is my real first name? Michael, Jonathan, Stephen, or Douglas? Answer at the end of the next video. This new pastry shop opened in my neighborhood. You know what the pastry was like? It was decent.